Hello, YouTubes! About time we get stuck into the 7R7 project. Let me show you what we're going to do today. Actually, I'm just going to take everything off the project and then I'll show you what we're going to start with, okay? See you in a minute. That's better. I've been waiting impatiently for a few things. First thing is parts. Second thing is money for parts. That's kind of the same as parts, really. And the third thing is better weather, which, as you can see, has finally arrived. Parts-wise, you might have seen a previous video, I've actually picked up a whole box full of coilovers. I've got all sorts of tools now, as you've seen. I've got my sandblaster, got my big compressor. Literally no excuses left. I've got 90% of the parts I need for this car. So I think today I want to take care of the steering, or at least start on the steering. I do have a steering wheel and steering column set up. I do need to make an adjuster for this section so that it doesn't just always default to really high. I'm going to keep that function though, because it's going to make it easier to get in and out. That'll be normal driving position for the steering wheel, and that'll be in and out. It is supposed to obviously have an adjuster, but it's been deleted by previous owner, so I need to make something or buy a new column, which I'd rather not have to do. So I'm going to make some linkage to go from there all the way along here and into my new steering rack that I just picked up yesterday or the day before. Do you like my rack? Now, this is very similar to the rack that I previously had for this, so I know it will fit. This is from a Fox Body Mustang, and the other one's, I think, a Thunderbird. These racks are all very similar to the Mustang 2. The only difference is the mounting holes there and there is a centimetre further or closer on one or the other. And the other difference is the splines on the power steering rack compared to the manual. That is a 36 spline compared to the manual rack, which is 26 splines. And the plan for this is, I'm going to use this for mock-up for now, for this. And then, once I know everything fits, I'm going to actually put this in the hot rod, because I want power steering in the hot rod. Don't really want power steering in this. So I think I'm going to throw all this on. This is quite heavy. Get the lower control arms on. And basically, the more parts that I put on this project, the less storage space I'm going to need around the garage. So let me throw it all together, or some of it together. All I have to do now is connect all of that to the steering wheel. Easy. And yes, I just threw this shock in here to see how it would look for a laugh. And I think it will go about, oh my goodness, these things are heavy. There at the bottom and maybe there at the top, roughly. Looks fine. I've got 2 of them and I've got 4 for the back that I can magic into position. Right, steering. We need to go from here, as I said before, 36 spline. And I do have a new universal joint for that. So that will join there and probably come along here. I've got a universal joint, 36 spline to double D at the other side, 3/4 inch double D. I think it's 3/4, I'll show you in a minute. So that will come along here. I'll use one of those rose joint holdery things to hold that in position, and then it'll just be a straight line to this. So I just need one U-joint there. Actually, I might get away with only one there, and then a straight line from here up to the steering, because that's already got a U-joint. That would save some. Yeah, that could work. All right, let's have a look at my parts and see what we've got. I have a fine selection of steering linkages of all descriptions. So that looks like a female double D, male double D, and at the end, oh my goodness, it's one of those pyramid things. That's weird. Okay, I don't know what that's for. Pyramid. Yeah, so that probably went in the end of that at some point. Probably not using that one then. This I've had forever. And you know what? That looks very similar to the thing I just bought over there. The 36 spline. That'll be annoying if that fits after me spending money on that. I've got a length of 3/4 inch round to whatever spline that is. I've got a rag joint that I'm going to need, but I'm going to have to adapt that to fit what's on the car at the moment. Random. A little coupler. I bet that's also the same as that. Kind of looks like it. I think I've wasted money. Square. That's a weird one. Square to square. Small splines to big non-splines. Wow, what a random selection. And those are the things I'm going to... I'll show you actually. I might even just need one of these if I'm only using one bar. But in order to stabilise the bar going from there all the way up to there, I want this kind of here-ish to keep it nice and level. Right, let's slot things together and see if I've got enough to make this thing turn. Well, as predicted, this white bar is the right splinage. However, there's a bit too much play in it, so I'm not going to use that after all. Off you go. Whoops. So instead, I will be using the one that I bought. That'll go in there, nice and tight. And then I will use a bit of 3/4 inch double D. Keeps it all nice and new. Kind of a sharp edge there, I'm going to have to just file that down a wee bit. You get the idea. I'll bring you around the other side, see where we go after that. So from that point there, I do happen to have a spare double D to double D, which will go there. And then a further section of double D, which will go from there up to the final joiny bit. Perfect, I've got just the right amount. So I will probably use one of those holdery things about there, and maybe one at this side. I do need to make some sort of rag joint adapter for up here. It's just going to be a wee bit tricky, but that's all I have to make. Bolt it together and I'll have steering. So I found a really simple solution to that steering column joint problem I was having. All I had to do was nip round to see my good friend Kevin. Kevin gave me a new column, which was a Mazda column. He also gave me a steering shaft and steering wheel, all Mazda, which is great, keeps it all in the family. So then I just had to remove the old steering column and steering wheel, that was a bit of a pain because I'd spent so much time putting it all together. Unfortunately, on the new column, we didn't have any keys, so I had to remove the ignition switch and wiring and the locking mechanism. Basically, the whole ignition barrel had to come off. No biggie. I wasn't going to use that anyway. Unfortunately, the new column did not fit with the old bracket that I made, so mods were required, i.e. cutting them off. Then I had to move those bracket bars up a bit, re-weld them, but I just tacked them on for now, as I had to do the reach test again. Once I was happy with the position, I could start on all the linkage. And then once I had all the right lengths, it was time to make a bracket for the adjustable shaft holder thingy-majig. I just used a big chunk of frame tubing, nice and strong, cut that to shape, and then drilled a giant hole in the middle of it. I then tacked that onto the frame and attached the rose joint shaft holder thingy-majig. See? Simple. Let's see if it works. I don't have as much room as I did on the last steering wheel to get in because it flipped up quite a lot. I'll need to get a detachable one. Oh, wait a minute. This one is detachable. Maybe a pain to do that every time I get in and out, so I'll look into getting a proper detachable one. I don't know though, it's pretty cheap, you know? Cheap solution. Right, steering. Don't worry about that noise, it's the per steering fluid is gurgling. That's excellent, no binding at all. Still get a bit of finalising to do. I had to move these brackets that way a bit, so they're really only on the edge of this. So I'm going to have to weld that up properly and put in a couple of triangular gussets under each one. And then I have to cut these off because they're no use. In fact, I might just cut this whole bar off now because it's no longer any use because the new mounting points are down here. So I think I'll run, well, I can use that bar, but chop it down to size, install it over here with a little plate or some way to attach that. I mean, it's fairly solid even just with those little tiny welds. Little ride joint here, that works fine. I can always replace that at some point with something newer, but it seems solid. Well, flexible solid, but you know what I mean, it's still perfectly strong enough. Still need to weld this. This used to be a sort of collapsible affair, so it's got a double D inside it, so I need to weld the end of that onto that to make that stop sliding in and out. That needs finished up for welding, and the rest is done. It's all good there. So for now, I'm going to leave it. Well, I'll make that a little bit stronger in there. Don't want it falling off. As I say, it's kind of just tacked. But I don't like to go too full on in case I have to change stuff at the front. You know, for all I know, I might need to change the rack position and stuff, which means moving all that. But I'm happy with that just now. I've got steering, and I really want to move on to the rear control arms and suspension and diff down there. I've been putting that off for so long, but I do have a plan. Thanks to Kevin, again, the guy I got pretty much everything from. He's given me something that I can fabricate to make the original RX-7 rear hubs usable onto the RX-7 rear diff. So I've kind of forgotten what my goal was today because it's taken me 3 days. Something to do with sandblasting and steering. Anyway, I've got a sandblaster. Let me know if you've got any experience with that sort of Eastwood sandblaster and if you know about settings or way I can improve it. And of course I've got steering. As I say, it needs a lot of finishing off, but I don't really want to do that until I've got everything else kind of in place. So thank you for watching, and we will get stuck into the rear end on the next video. Take care everyone. Bye for now.